Malik Johnson stood at the entrance of Crestwood High School, the familiar sight of peeling paint and cracked concrete greeting him like an old adversary. He took a deep breath, trying to muster the courage to walk through the heavy doors. As he stepped inside, the cacophony of laughter and chatter surrounded him, but it felt less like a welcome and more like an impending storm. Whispers trailed behind him like shadows, the sharp edges of their words cutting into his resolve. "Look at him. Thinks he's so smart," a voice sneered from a cluster of students gathered by the lockers. Malik's heart raced, a familiar mixture of anger and hurt bubbling beneath the surface. He quickened his pace, pretending not to hear the snickers that followed him down the hallway. It was an all-too-familiar routine. Each day, a new chapter in their ongoing narrative of ridicule. In the classroom, the atmosphere shifted. Mr. Thompson, the math teacher with a reputation for his biting sarcasm, looked up from his desk as Malik entered. The room was filled with the low hum of students preparing for the quiz, but Malik felt the tension that always seemed to hang in the air when he was around. As the bell rang, Mr. Thompson surveyed the class with an air of authority. "All right, everyone, you know the drill. You have 30 minutes, he announced, his eyes landing on Malik with a smirk. "And Malik, try not to overthink it this time. You might want to stick to basketball instead of science. Leave the numbers to the real mathematicians." The laughter erupted like a wave, crashing over Malik and pulling him under. His heart sank, but he fought to keep his head high. "I'll show them," he whispered to himself, gripping his pencil tightly. He focused on the quiz, his mind racing through the equations and formulas that felt like a refuge from the storm outside. Each problem he solved was a small victory, a reminder of his determination to rise above the constraints that others tried to impose on him. When the quiz ended, Malik gathered his belongings with a sense of urgency. He could feel Mr. Thompson's eyes on him, a mixture of disdain and disbelief. "Good luck with your dreams, Malik," the teacher called out, his voice dripping with condescension. "You'll need it." As Malik walked home, the weight of the day pressed heavily on his shoulders. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, but the beauty of the moment was lost on him. He felt like a solitary figure in a world that seemed intent on pushing him down. When he finally entered the modest home he shared with his mother, Angela, a wave of comfort washed over him. "Hey, honey, how was school?" she asked, looking up from the kitchen table where she was sorting through some papers. Her voice was warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the hostile environment he had just left. Malik hesitated, unsure of how to articulate the pain he had felt that day. "It was fine," he finally replied, forcing a smile. "Just the usual." Angela studied him, her eyes narrowing with concern. "You know you could talk to me about anything, right?" Malik sighed, the weight of his experiences tumbling out. "They just don't get it, Mom. They think I'm just some dumb jock. Mr. Thompson even said I should stick to sports." His voice cracked, and he felt a surge of frustration. Angela set her papers aside and moved closer, her expression softening. "Malik, you are so much more than what they see. You have dreams, and you're capable of achieving them. Don't let their ignorance dim your light. Remember what we talked about? Use their doubt as fuel." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket, igniting a flicker of determination within him. "I will, Mom. I promise," Malik said, feeling the burden of the day begin to lift. That night, as the stars twinkled outside his window, Malik sat at his desk, textbooks spread out before him. He dove into his studies, the glow of the desk lamp illuminating the pages filled with complex equations and scientific theories. With each line he read, he could hear his mother's encouraging voice echoing in his mind. He was more than the sum of others' opinions. He was destined for greatness, and nothing, not even the sneers of his peers, could hold him back. Malik Johnson sat at his small desk, papers strewn around him like fallen leaves. The dim light from his desk lamp illuminated his focused expression as he meticulously crafted his scholarship application for the prestigious STEM program. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. He had spent countless hours researching the scholarship requirements, gathering recommendations, and perfecting his essay. He knew this was more than just a chance to further his education. It was his opportunity to prove to everyone at Crestwood High that he was more than the stereotypes they placed upon him. "Malik, are you still at it?" His younger sister, Zoe, peeked into his room, her eyes wide with curiosity. She had always admired her brother's determination, but tonight he seemed particularly intense. "Yizzo, just trying to get this application right," Malik replied, his voice tinged with fatigue. "It's for a scholarship that could change everything for our family." Zoe stepped into the room, her small frame bouncing with enthusiasm. "Can I help? I can read your essay." Malik chuckled. "You might not understand the science stuff, but I appreciate the offer." He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I just want to make sure I communicate my passion for science clearly. They need to see that I'm serious about this." "You were serious about this? Remember when you built that volcano for the science fair? You were like a mad scientist." Zoe laughed, recalling the chaotic yet brilliant experiment that had won Malik first place. "Yeah, but this is different. This isn't just about winning a prize. This is about my future," Malik said, his brow furrowing slightly. "I want to be a scientist, and I need this scholarship to make it happen. I can't let their doubts get to me." The next day, the sun rose with a promise of warmth, but Malik felt a chill as he walked through the school doors. The whispers and snickers from his classmates followed him like shadows. He tried to ignore them as he made his way to his locker, but the taunts were inescapable. "Think he'll actually get that scholarship?" "Please," scoffed a voice from behind him. Malik recognized it as Tyler, one of the more popular kids known for his biting remarks. What's he gonna do? Invent a new way to fail? Malik clenched his fists, his heart pounding. He forced himself to keep walking, but the words stung like venom. He had to remind himself of his goal, of the countless hours he had dedicated to this scholarship. He wouldn't let their negativity dim his ambition. Later that week, the day of the scholarship interview arrived. Malik dressed sharply in a navy blazer, a stark contrast to the usual hoodies and jeans he wore at school. He practiced his responses in front of the mirror, each word emphasizing his dedication to science and his dreams of making a difference in the world. As he approached the interview room, his stomach churned with nerves. He took a deep breath, recalling his mother's words. "You've worked hard for this, Malik. Just be yourself." He knocked on the door, and a voice invited him in. The panel consisted of 3 members: a stern-looking woman in glasses, a middle-aged man with a kind smile, and a younger woman who appeared to be taking notes. Malik greeted them, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his chest. "Thank you for the opportunity," he began, channeling his passion for science into every word. He spoke about his love for chemistry, the experiments he conducted at home, and his dreams of researching renewable energy sources. The panel listened intently, nodding occasionally, and Malik felt a spark of hope igniting within him. As he finished his presentation, a wave of relief washed over him. "Do you have any questions for me?" he asked, his voice more confident now. The middle-aged man leaned forward, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What do you think is the biggest challenge facing young scientists today?" Malik didn't hesitate. "I believe it's access to resources and opportunities. Many students, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, don't have the same support systems. I want to change that." The panel exchanged glances, and Malik could sense their approval. After thanking him for his time, they dismissed him, and he left the room feeling lighter. However, as he stepped back into the hallway, the reality of Crestwood High hit him again. The whispers resumed, this time sharper and more pronounced. "Did you hear Malik's trying for that scholarship? As if he has a chance," a girl scoffed to her friend. Malik quickened his pace, but their words echoed in his mind. Instead of letting the negativity drown him, he clung to the hope he felt after the interview. He would prove them wrong, not just for himself, but for all the students who felt overlooked and underestimated. Each taunt fueled his resolve, igniting a fire within him that would not be extinguished. Malik burst through the front door of his home, his heart racing with excitement. The envelope in his hand felt like a key to a new world, and as he entered the living room, he was met with the familiar scent of his mother's cooking wafting through the air. Angela was at the stove, stirring a pot of what smelled like her famous gumbo. She turned around, wiping her hands on a dish towel, and immediately noticed the gleam in Malik's eyes. "Malik, what's got you all fired up?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "I got it, Mom. I got the scholarship," Malik exclaimed, unable to contain his joy any longer. He held up the envelope, his hands trembling slightly as he did. Angela dropped the towel and rushed to him, enveloping him in a tight embrace. "Oh, my baby, I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you." Her voice cracked with emotion as she pulled back to look into his eyes. "This is just the beginning, Malik. You've worked so hard for this." Malik felt a swell of pride at his mother's words. "I can't believe it, Mom. I was so nervous during the interview, but I just kept thinking about everything you told me. I focused on my passion for science and what it could mean for my future." As they celebrated together, Malik's younger sister, Maya, peeked her head around the corner. "Did I hear scholarship?" she asked, her eyes wide with excitement. "Does that mean you're going to be a scientist now?" "Absolutely. I'm one step closer to it," Malik replied, tousling her hair affectionately. "And you can be anything you want to be too, Maya. Just remember to work hard and believe in yourself." Later that evening, the family gathered around the dinner table, and Angela prepared a feast to celebrate Malik's achievement. As they sat down, she raised her glass, looking at Malik with pride. "To Malik, for his hard work and determination. May this be just the first of many successes." "Cheers," Maya chimed in, lifting her glass with enthusiasm. The following day, at Crestwood High School, Malik walked into the gymnasium for the morning assembly, his heart racing with a mix of pride and anxiety. He had spent the entire night dreaming about this moment, a moment he had longed for amidst the ridicule and doubt. As he took his seat, he could feel the stares of his classmates, some curious, others scornful. Principal Harris stepped up to the podium, her voice booming through the gym. "Students, we have a very special announcement today. It is with great pleasure that I share that one of our own, Malik Johnson, has been awarded the prestigious STEM scholarship." A smattering of applause erupted, but it was quickly drowned out by a chorus of jeers from some of his classmates. Malik's cheeks flushed as he caught sight of a few students rolling their eyes and whispering among themselves. "Look at him, acting all high and mighty," one of the boys sneered, loud enough for Malik to hear. But he held his head high, a mix of anger and determination brewing inside him. He could feel the weight of their comments, but he refused to let them dim his moment of triumph. The principal continued, "This scholarship is a testament to Malik's hard work and potential, and we should all be proud of what he has achieved." As the assembly concluded, Malik walked out of the gym, trying to block out the disapproving whispers. He spotted Mr. Thompson, his math teacher, waiting by the door. The teacher's expression was inscrutable, but Malik could sense the underlying skepticism. "Congratulations, Malik," Mr. Thompson said, his tone flat. "I suppose it's good to see that you've found some luck." Malik's heart sank at the dismissive nature of the comment. "It's not luck, Mr. Thompson. I earned this," he replied, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions within him. "Sure, we'll see how long that lasts," Mr. Thompson shot back, a smirk creeping onto his face. "Just remember, don't let it get to your head. Focus on your grades and stay humble." The words stung, feeding the fire of Malik's resolve. He wasn't going to let anyone undermine his accomplishment. "I will prove everyone wrong," he muttered under his breath as he walked away. Determined, Malik made his way to the library. He needed to channel his feelings into something productive, something that would solidify his worth and commitment to his future. As he sat down at a table, he opened his notebook, the blank pages waiting to be filled with ideas, plans, and dreams that he would not let anyone take away from him. As the echoes of applause faded in the Crestwood High School auditorium, Malik Johnson felt an unexpected heaviness in his chest. The announcement of his scholarship had set off a storm of whispers and glances, and while some students celebrated his achievement, others simmered with resentment. It was in the aftermath of that assembly that the first threads of a deeper scandal began to unravel. In the following days, Malik noticed subtle changes in the school's atmosphere. Students who had once ignored him now approached him with a mix of curiosity and hostility. "What's it like to get a scholarship you don't deserve?" sneered Jake, a classmate with a reputation for being the school bully. Malik clenched his fists, the taunt echoing in his mind like a painful drumbeat. He had worked tirelessly for this opportunity, yet he felt the bitter sting of doubt creeping in. Malik decided to seek answers. He approached Ms. Reed, a teacher he had always respected for her enthusiasm and support in science classes. She was known for her fairness and dedication to students, and Malik hoped she could shed light on the changing tides. He found her in the quiet of the teacher's lounge, grading papers. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, casting a soft glow over her worried expression as Malik stepped in. "Ms. Reed," he began, his voice steady yet filled with underlying concern. "Can I talk to you about the scholarship? I've been hearing some things." She looked up, her brow furrowing. "Of course, Malik. What's bothering you? What if it wasn't just about me? What if there are other things happening behind the scenes?" His heart raced as he spoke, the weight of his inquiry hanging in the air. Ms. Reed sighed, setting aside her papers. "You're not the first to question the integrity of the administration, Malik. There have been whispers about how they handle scholarships, how they choose who gets what. Some students are favored because of connections. It's not just about merit. Are you saying they're manipulating the system?" Malik's voice rose, a mix of disbelief and anger igniting within him. "Yes," she replied quietly, her eyes avoiding his. "I can't say much, but I've seen it happen. Some deserving students are overlooked in favor of others who fit a certain profile." Malik felt a rush of betrayal wash over him. How could the very institution that was supposed to uplift him be complicit in such injustice? "So, what should I do? I can't just sit back and let this happen." Ms. Reed looked at him with a mix of admiration and concern. "You have a choice, Malik. You can either expose the truth or focus on your studies. But know that the path of truth is often fraught with challenges." Feeling conflicted, Malik left her office with a storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. He knew he had to make a decision, but the weight of the potential consequences pressed heavily on his shoulders. The thought of standing up against the school's administration was daunting. Yet the idea of remaining silent felt like a betrayal to every student who had been overlooked. At home that night, Malik sat at the kitchen table, his mother, Angela, bustling around preparing dinner. The scent of her famous fried chicken filled the air, but Malik felt detached from the comforting aroma. He needed to talk to her, to share the turmoil he was feeling. "Mom," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk?" Angela turned, wiping her hands on a dish towel and taking a seat across from him. "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" He took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "I found out some things about the school, about the scholarship. It's not just about me getting it. There's something wrong happening where students are being manipulated based on connections, not merit." Her expression shifted, concern knitting her brow. "What do you mean? Are you saying they're not being fair?" "Exactly. Ms. Reed talked to me about how the administration favors certain students. I'm torn, Mom. Should I expose this? Or should I just focus on my studies?" Angela reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "Malik, you've always been a fighter. You have a gift, and it's not just about your intelligence. It's about your integrity. If you know something is wrong, you owe it to yourself and to your peers to stand up. But you also need to be prepared for what comes next." Malik looked into his mother's eyes, feeling the weight of her words. He knew she was right. The path ahead was uncertain, but he could no longer ignore the truth that lay before him. With a resolve that surprised even him, he made a decision that would change everything. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Crestwood High School, Malik Johnson sat at a worn-out library table, a stack of papers strewn in front of him. He had decided to take a stand against the corruption he discovered within the school's administration. The weight of the decision pressed heavily on his shoulders, but he felt invigorated by the purpose that coursed through him. He was tired of being just another statistic, tired of the whispers that followed him in the hallways, and tired of the systemic injustices that stifled his potential and that of his peers. With determination etched on his face, Malik pulled out his phone and dialed the number of Sarah, a local journalist known for her hard-hitting investigative pieces. As it rang, he recalled the stories he had read about her uncovering corruption and injustice in the community. When she finally answered, her voice was warm yet professional. "Sarah, it's Malik Johnson. I need your help, he said, his voice steady despite the flutter in his stomach. Malik, I remember you from the scholarship announcement. What's going on? She asked, her curiosity piqued. I've uncovered some serious irregularities at Crestwood High regarding the scholarship applications. I think they've been manipulating the process, favoring certain students while sidelining others, including myself. Wow, that's a serious allegation. Are you sure? Sarah's tone shifted to one of urgency. I'm certain. I've gathered some evidence, but I need your expertise to dig deeper and bring this to light, Malik replied, his resolve strengthening with each word. What do you have so far? She inquired. I've got emails and some testimonies from students who felt overlooked. I believe it's time the community knows the truth, he said, his heart racing at the thought of taking such a bold step. Let's meet tomorrow to discuss this in detail. It's important we do it right, Sarah suggested. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it, Malik said, relief flooding through him. The next day, Malik faced the familiar halls of Crestwood with a mix of anxiety and determination. Whispers followed him as he passed by his classmates, their faces contorted in scorn. Look at him, the troublemaker. One girl snickered, her voice dripping with disdain. Malik tightened his jaw and kept walking, knowing that he had to stay focused. In the following weeks, the investigation took shape as Malik and Sarah worked tirelessly. They gathered testimonies and more evidence, but the backlash was intense. His classmates, once indifferent, began to turn against him. Why are you doing this, Malik? You're just ruining everything for all of us, a boy named Josh sneered one afternoon. Malik paused, hurt flashing in his eyes. I'm trying to make things right. This school should be a place where everyone has an equal chance, he replied, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Yeah, right? You'll just get yourself kicked out, Josh retorted, walking away with a group of friends who laughed mockingly. Despite the pressure mounting from all sides, Malik remained resolute. He often found solace in conversations with his mother, Angela, who encouraged him to stay true to himself. Don't let them distract you, Malik. You're fighting for something bigger than just yourself, she reminded him one evening as they sat on the porch, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. I know, Mom. It just hurts sometimes. They don't understand, Malik confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. They will eventually. Just keep your head up and stay strong, she said, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. As the day of the school board meeting approached, Malik felt a mix of excitement and fear. He and Sarah prepared their presentation meticulously, knowing that the stakes were high. The night before, he couldn't sleep, his mind racing with thoughts of the potential consequences of their actions. The day of the meeting arrived, and the atmosphere in the auditorium was charged. Malik stood beside Sarah, his heart pounding in his chest as they faced the school board. The room was packed with students, parents, and teachers, all buzzing with anticipation. Thank you for allowing us to speak today, Sarah began, her voice clear and commanding. We are here to present evidence of unethical practices regarding the scholarship process at Crestwood High. Malik took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. He stepped forward and laid out the facts, sharing the testimonies and the evidence they had gathered. As he spoke, he could see the board members squirming in their seats, the tension palpable. Every student deserves a fair chance, regardless of their background. It's time for Crestwood High to be held accountable, Malik concluded, his voice unwavering. The room erupted in murmurs, the gravity of the situation settling in. Malik caught glimpses of his classmates, some looking ashamed, others still skeptical. But he knew he had done the right thing. He had taken a stand against the injustice that had plagued his school, and no matter the outcome, he felt a sense of pride swelling within him. Malik stood at the front of the school board meeting, his heart racing and his palms clammy. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the air almost electric as parents, students, and faculty members filled the room. He had prepared for this moment, rehearsing his speech countless times, but nothing could truly prepare him for the weight of the eyes upon him. Just as he gathered his thoughts to speak, the door swung open, and a former student, Jasmine, stepped inside. She hesitated for a moment, glancing around the room before making her way to the front. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "I have something to say." Malik's breath caught in his throat. He had spoken with Jasmine briefly, but he hadn't expected her to show up at such a crucial moment. She was a graduate who had experienced similar discrimination during her time at Crestwood, and Malik knew her story would lend weight to his claims. The board members exchanged glances, clearly taken aback by the unexpected witness. "Please state your name for the record," one of the board members said, trying to regain control of the meeting. "Jasmine Carter," she replied, her eyes darting to Malik before locking onto the board members. "I graduated last year, and I was one of the students who was overlooked for scholarships because of favoritism. I worked hard, but my efforts were dismissed. I was told I didn't fit the ideal candidate mold." A murmur ran through the crowd as Jasmine continued. "I watched as others, students who didn't put in the same effort, received awards and recognition simply because of their connections. It was disheartening. I almost gave up on my dreams because of it." Malik felt a surge of hope. Jasmine's bravery was a beacon, illuminating the truth he had fought so hard to expose. He stepped forward, his voice firm. "Jasmine's experience is not an isolated incident. This pattern of discrimination has been ongoing, and it needs to be addressed." The board members shifted uncomfortably, and Malik could see the cracks forming in their facade of authority. Sarah, the journalist, stood at the back of the room, her camera trained on the proceedings, capturing every moment. Malik knew that this was going to be the turning point. He could feel it in his bones. As Jasmine finished detailing her story, the room erupted into applause. Parents stood up, some shouting their support, while others whispered amongst themselves, shocked by the revelations. Malik could hardly believe the shift in the atmosphere. It felt like the tide was turning in his favor. With the media now buzzing around the room, the local news picked up on the energy, broadcasting the unfolding drama live. The state education department, already interested in the allegations, sent representatives to the meeting. Malik watched as board members' faces paled at the realization of the scrutiny they were under. Days later, the fallout from the meeting was swift. Articles flooded the local newspapers, headlines blaring about the corruption within Crestwood High. The state launched an investigation, and Mr. Thompson, along with several administrators, was put on administrative leave pending the results. Malik felt a mixture of vindication and sorrow. He had always respected education, but now it felt tainted by the actions of those who were supposed to protect it. In the aftermath, the atmosphere at Crestwood shifted again. Students who had once ridiculed Malik now approached him in the halls, offering apologies and expressing their support. It was surreal, the way perception could change overnight. Malik had become a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of truth. On the day of the scholarship award ceremony, Malik stood with his mother, Angela, proudly watching as the community gathered to celebrate him. "You did it, Malik," she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears of pride. "You stood up for what's right, and that takes courage." Malik smiled, feeling the warmth of her words wrap around him like a comforting blanket. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You taught me to believe in myself." As he stepped onto the stage to receive his award, the applause thundered in his ears, a symphony of support that drowned out the negativity that once surrounded him. He looked out into the crowd, and for the first time, he felt truly seen. He had not just won a scholarship. He had won a battle against prejudice, paving the way for future students to follow their dreams without fear. "Thank you," he began, his voice steady and loud enough to reach every corner of the room. "This isn't just for me. It's for everyone who has ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or marginalized. Let's change the narrative together." The applause grew louder as Malik's heart swelled with hope, knowing that through perseverance and integrity, they could indeed triumph over adversity.